you. Evening, guys.
Evening, sir.
That's it. Okay. Oh, sorry, I'm a bit late. That grading finished almost exactly on time, but then I started the wrong class. Because this class is an hour later than scheduled, Zoom had already bumped me forward to Tuesday. Okay. Sit up. Chong it. Take what? Raise your right hand and recite the tenets. Job, courtesy, integrity, perseverance, self-control, indomitable spirit. And the student oath. Guess what? I shall observe the tenets of Taekwondo. I shall respect the instructor and seniors. I shall never misuse Taekwondo. I shall be a champion of freedom and justice. I shall build a more peaceful world. Model. Before we get started, guys, is there anything in particular that you want to work on tonight?
I think step sparring, so.
Step sparring? Cool. Does that work for you too, Mr. S? Okay, great. Let's get warmed up then. I might just put it on gallery so you guys can do the work. Okay, rotating wrists. Change direction. Elbows. Change direction. Arms back. Forwards. Torso. Left ankle. Change direction. Change foot. Change direction. Hands on knees. And down. And back. Down. And back. Down. Back. Down. Back. And circling the knees outwards. I wonder how many people forgot we were an hour later tonight and how many people are just not used to the later class. Inwards. Hips. Change direction. Grab a chair, let's use the chair to warm the legs up. You don't have to if you don't want a chair. Just do some front, yeah, warm's great. Do a dozen front rising kicks each leg. Then side rising kicks. and then to the rear. Sorry, I just started doing it without saying it. Then just some light kicks to get the legs warm. Just lightly front snap kicks first. Then maybe some side kicks. And then some turning kicks. Okay. Did you want to go through all suit sparring syllabuses from yellow up or just focus on yours? Mr. W? Do you want to go, should we go right up? Let's start at yellow belt and work all the way up. Refresher. Okay, so 3 set sparring for yellow belt first. Oh. So remember, number 1 is middle punch for attack, inner forearm middle block to block, and flat fingers to thrust to counter attack. Number 2 is high punch, knife hand side block, step forward, reverse knife hand inward strike. Number 3 is low front snap kick, block with forearm low block, counter attack, pivot, front leg, knife hand, front hand knife hand side strike with an L stance. So pivoting that front leg. Okay, 1, 2, and 3, ready to go. Hop. 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 Okay, depending on how we go. Done 1, 2, and 3. We've done all 3. Cool. Okay, for two-way, 3-set sparring for green stripe. Remember, we do 1 and 2 two-way. Try and do it in your space. If you have trouble, then just do the stepping adjustments we normally do. So remember, you do your 3 punches forward and then backward. Ready. Two-way, 3-set sparring. Number 1 and number 2. Go. Hop. Remember to counter attack at both ends. I'll just have to adjust them between. Hop. 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 And number 2. Hop. 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 And make one up on the spot. So don't do number 3 because the front snap kick is terrible doing it two-way, but do a different 3-set sparring technique of your own. Go. Hop. Two-way. Hop. 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 Cool. Okay, do we remember green belt 3-set sparring or 2-set sparring?
Sir, I have a question about the two-way, 3-set sparring.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why do we do 2 counters? That doesn't make sense to me. Shouldn't the counter finish them so we don't have to do another one?
You're good countering at both ends, right? So the purpose of 3-set sparring, remember, is for juniors to learn stances. So doing it two-way, there's 2 things that you're actually working on. One is attacking and defending in 2 directions, forwards and backwards. The other one is you end up doing the counter attack on both sides. Whereas normally in 3-set sparring, of course, you're only counter attacking on one side. So it helps. Think of it as being 2 separate sequences joined together with 2 different opponents rather than one opponent. So yeah, it's not, you're right, it doesn't follow the one counter attack for victory rule. But it's some basic footwork movements for juniors and learning to use both sides of the body.
Makes sense, sir. Thank you.
Cool. Everyone okay with green belt?
Sir,
Yes, sir.
I mean, the other thing that I could see it being is that it could also be like changing the momentum of the fight.
Yeah.
Like you get pushed back, you stop them with the counter attack, then you push forwards.
Yes, yeah, could be. It is basically just a very simple simple sparring exercise done for beginners to work on their stances. And remember, your movements that you use in 3-set sparring are basic. So you tend to stick to L stances and walking stances, and you do. Oh, that's right. We're going to do green stripe one way, counter attacking with the feet, and basic kicks. So before we do a 2-step, we're going to do our green stripe one way, counter attacking with the feet. Remember, the attacks are all L stance. So do we remember those ones? Quick reminder, the ready position, of course, is still walking stance, forearm low block. L stance punch is the first one. The block is inner forearm middle block, and the counter attack is side front snap kick with the front leg. That's number 1. Number 2 is still an L stance side punch. The defense is knife hand guarding block, and the counter attack is step off turning kick. And number 3 from here, it's a L stance knife hand side strike is the attack. Your defense is forearm inward block. And then your counter attack is front leg side piercing kick. That's number 3. Okay, let's go. Hop. 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 We're going to finish with a guarding block. Hop. 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 Okay. Hands up if you remember green belt two-step. Okay, cool. Number one, so remember the attacks for green belt and blue stripe are the same. Number one is front punch, front kick. So from your L stance forearm guarding block, your attack ready position, punch, kick, walking ready stance, the defense, middle block, low block, punch. Number two is your side techniques. So it's side piercing kick to solar plexus, and then L stance side punch. That's number two. The side piercing kick you block with palm downward block. The side punch you block with knife and guarding block. And the counter attack, side piercing kick. That's right, isn't it, Mr. S? For number two? Oh, good. Okay, number three is your turning stuff. So number three from here, L stance, knife hand side strike, side turning kick. And the counter attack, L stance, knife hand side strike, step back, crescent kick. When the turning kick comes in, shift off to the rear, to a side forearm guarding block, and counter attack with reverse turning kick. Just put your favorite leg at the back. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. Ready? Let's go. Hop. Hop. Aha, yes, it was right. Hind leg. Hop. Top. 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 Cool. And command. Remember the principles with your step sparring, that we want to make sure that we don't act until our partner does. So if the attack comes, we don't move until the attacker starts moving. So don't act, react. Okay, green stripe, same attacks for the forearm, for the middle punch, forearm low block, through the same two blocks, except you do a knife hand low block, and then counter attack with front elbow strike with a little shift forward. Number two, this is the reverse hooking kick one. So from here, the side piercing kick, same block. Then for the knife hand, for the side punch, knife hand guarding block, I believe. Is that right?
I'm pretty sure you shift off, sir.
Shift off. Ah, yes, for the reverse hooking kick. Thank you. Okay. 1, shift off, 2, front leg, reverse hooking kick, 3. That's number 2. And number 3, from the step back into a hooking kick with the right leg. And now we're going to step down into a forearm inward block here with the left hand in L stance to the turning kick, side turning kick rather. Step off to the side, twisting kick. Okay, let's run through those. Hop. 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 Counter attacks. Okay. Grab a drink, guys. Okay, now as you know, when we do one set sparring, for me, the most important thing is doing a logical sequence that fits in with the required techniques that you've got to use. If you want to learn the examples in the book, that's absolutely fine. I encourage you to do that. I don't think it's necessary to be so restrictive because it's quite easy to do one set sparring almost on the spot. Say to your partner, walking stance, flat fingertip thrust, please. They do it, you do your defense and counter attack. It's much, much harder to do that with two-step. And three-step, the students don't have enough experience to do that. So I'm going to share my screen so we can, if we want to, well, in flex, let's tonight work through the GUP syllabus techniques. So, blue belt, one set sparring. Attack, walking stance, punch. Remember that's aimed for the solar plexus. It's not aimed for not shoulder height. It's aimed for your partner's shoulder plexus. So they can step back with their right foot into a rear foot stance, palm upward block, movement 3 of Jungun, and then counterattack with a flying turning kick. So palm upward block, flying turning kick. Number 2, the attack is walking stance, flat fingertip thrust. And the counterattack is just straight into a flying front snap kick. So you might just want to shift off slightly. The third one, your attack is side turning kick. Defender dodges to forearm guarding block and does flying side piercing kick with the front foot. Okay, so I'm going to spotlight Mr. W for this one. There we go. Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. Okay, so number 1, number 2, and number 3. Both of you. Go. Walking stance punch, palm upward block and rear foot stance, flying turning kick. Good, aiming for that. Nice, guys. Okay, flat fingertip thrust, flying front snap kick. Okay, and pause for a moment. Couple of things. Firstly, Mr. W, pause for a little bit when you jump, because you jump really nicely, but you're kicking a little bit early. So you're not kicking as high as you can. But the other thing for both of you is don't feel like when you're doing one set sparring for blue belt level and red stripe level that you have to dodge, which is flying away and kicking. For number one, number two there, if you actually do a little shift off and then jump straight in the air, then you'll demonstrate better height. And that's kind of what we want to see at this level. So jumping away and kicking at the same time is much harder, and you won't get as high and it won't look as impressive. So just do a little shift off to the side into a guarding block and then fly and do your front kick. Try that. Go.
Yes, sir. I'm just trying to practice the dodging kick.
Oh, really? You're going ahead of yourself. Good man. You legend.
Or try hard now. Try not as hard later.
Yes. Yes, I understand. Nice. Okay, number three, the attack was side turning kick, dodge into forearm guarding block, front leg flying side piercing kick. Nice. Mr. S with the side turning kick. Remember to get a little bit more pivot so your foot's pointing almost behind you. And that way you'll extend your body out a little bit further so it looks a bit different from a turning kick. A turning kick, your body's quite folded up, and a side turning kick is extended more. Yeah, that's it. Lovely. Good. Okay. Nice. Okay. Red stripe. Mr. S, you're on television now. Okay, so the attacks for red stripe, or the sequences, the examples, number one is walking stance punch. You defend with hooking kick, and then counter attack with flying inward vertical kick. Now, I see a lot of people trying to do the hooking kick and then fly straight into the vertical kick without putting their foot on the ground. That's cool. And if you do that really well, great. Most red stripes can't do that well. So I'd rather see the red stripes do the hooking kick, put the foot on the ground, and then instantly do a 2-foot takeoff and kick at head height than do a hooking kick, vertical kick at chest height. So hooking kick, try putting your foot on the ground with a hooking kick, touch the ground with both feet, and then spring straight off the ground with the vertical kick. Both of you try that first. Okay, so do number one now, go. Nice, cool. Excellent. Okay, if you get that spring straight from hooking kick, touch the ground and straight up, it looks really awesome, and you'll get a lot more height. It looks really cool. Okay, number two, attack is walking stance, upset, fingertip thrust. Remember, that's usually reverse. And the defense, dodge to knife hand low guarding block, and then flying back piercing kick. There you go. Walking stance, upset, fingertip thrust, dodge to knife hand low guarding block, flying back piercing kick. Cool. Just watch your space. Cool. The thing that people often struggle with in this is getting the back hit, flying back kick on target. So just make sure you're turning around, looking at your target and going straight back. Try that one once more. And I want a couple of things I want you to try to think about. One, again, delay the kick. Jump up in the air, pause for a split second before you kick rather than jump and kick at the same time. So try that. Second thing, and this is quite tricky, when you kick, try and tuck your core in. One of the things that's very common with a flying back piercing kick is the leg doesn't straighten properly. So tuck your core in and really try and straighten that leg out with the flying back piercing kick. Go, try number 2 again. Nice. Good. Yeah, so Mr. W, you've still got your body quite upright with the back piercing kick. You have to kind of curl forward a little bit with the back piercing kick so you can straighten that leg out. It's not possible to do it with your body straight up and down because anatomically you can't do it. Just do a couple of flying back kicks. Yeah, that's better. It's better. Cool, you got a lean, lovely. Okay, number 3, the attack is side piercing kick. The defense is crescent kick, counter with flying reverse turning kick. Attack with side piercing kick, defend with crescent kick, flying reverse turning kick. Go. Mr. W, I'm not quite sure whether it's the camera angle, but just check when you're doing your side piercing kicks that your supporting foot's pointing the opposite direction. It looks like it might be pointing sideways a bit and your bum sticking out a bit in your side kick. So as I say, it might be camera angle. Cool, better. Lovely. Okay, red belts. I'm just going to spotlight both of you this time. Okay, red belt syllabus. The defenses are, well, the techniques, the compulsory techniques are flying reverse hooking kick, flying twisting kick, and mid-air kick. The examples, number 1, attack with the walking stance punch. Defense, L stance, palm downward block. Make sure you're using 2 hands for your palm downward block. And then flying reverse hooking kick with the front leg. So walking stance punch, L stance, palm downward block, flying reverse hooking kick with the front leg. So just do that one a couple of times first.
Wait, so what punch is it?
Walking stance, 4-fist punch.
Okay.
Just
What was the middle punch?
it'll be a middle punch.
So
Yes, Mr. W?
so what was the counter attack again?
Flying reverse hooking kick with the front leg. Feel free just to leave your microphone on because it's not loud.
All right. So
That's it. Now with that one, Mr. W, try and jump straight up, pause a little bit and kick at the top of your jump so you can get that reverse hooking kick to head height. Don't feel like you don't have to dodge away, just jump straight up in the air. Nice, Mr. S. Cool, lovely. Unusually there, Mr. S, that one, when you step back, your right hand's being lazy. You're not doing it the other side. There we go. Yeah, pulling that hand back. You had a tendency the first couple of times you did it for your hand not to, there we go. Your right hand wasn't doing anything the first couple of times, but it's not, you're not doing it on the other side. On the other side, you're using two hands really well. Yeah, Mr. W, that's looking good. That delay's looking good. Nice, Mr. S, looks lovely. Cool. Okay, let's do number 2. Attack is walking stance, flat fingertip thrust. Dodge to an L stance, guarding block, and counter attack with a mid-air kick. Okay, so now remember, a mid-air kick, it pivots the same way a back piercing kick does, but you open your hips and turn your foot like a side kick rather than coming underneath. Okay.
Sorry, so it's a pivot, not a spin.
It is a pivot, yeah. You spin for your reverse turning kicks and reverse hooking kicks. For your mid-air kicks and your back piercing kicks, you want them to come directly like a punch. So you have to pivot rather than spin. But the difference is that you open your hips out and turn the kicking technique into a side kick.
Has that changed, or has it just always been like that?
It's still, well, I mean, the pivot spin distinction is kind of a theoretical thing that you won't find in the book. It's just the way that we describe it. So it hasn't really changed. It's just kind of, as long as your mid-air kick's going directly out and you're not coming across with your foot. So if your hips are rotating, which is what you kind of think about when you spin, then your side kick, your mid-air kick, by definition, is going to come around. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So
if you pivot your hips, this is the way that I think about it. If I pivot my hips and my kick goes directly, then my mid-air kick can go straight towards the target. So as long as your foot's doing that, it doesn't matter how you think about it, but I just find that's an easy way to understand it for me.
thanks, sir.
That one hooked a little bit, Mr. S. Cool. You want to be able to retract a mid-air kick like you do a side kick. Yeah. Cool. And Gaman. Okay, let's do number 3. Number 3, the attack is a back piercing kick. So from your parallel stance, you've got to step in some way, right? Because it won't make sense to do parallel stance and then try and pivot around without doing anything. So you got to do a little step and then do a back piercing kick. The counter attack is a flying twisting kick. So again, I'd suggest here shift off the line a little bit and then do your flying twisting kick with the front leg or the rear leg, whichever one really works. So rather than trying to dodge, again, you get a really nice technique if you shift off a little bit and then jump straight up as soon as you land, and you'll be able to get nice height and stuff with it.
So is it okay if we don't finish the stance after the shift? So it's like an in-between stance, or is it better?
What you just did there, where you shifted and immediately jumped up in the air, then you're going to be okay. What it looks messy if someone shifts off, doesn't really finish the stance, pauses there for a bit, and then does a technique. So if you kind of shift and jump straight away, then you get away with it. But generally, your movement will still feel a little bit like a guarding block anyway. So
okay, thank you.
Cool.
Sir,
Yes,
how
sir.
do you generally come out of the back kick?
How do you come out of it? So
Yeah,
what do you do after it?
Do people
I would do an L ready stance. So no, I would go forward. And the reason I say this into an L ready stance rather than L stance forearm guarding block, the reason I say this is because that's going to create the space for your partner to counterattack. If you do your back kick and come back, then they've got nothing to attack really. So yeah, do your back piercing kick, go forward into an L ready stance. Good question.
Right, thank you, sir.
Just try and turn that foot over, Mr. S. With your twisting kick, just make sure it's turned. There we go, lovely. That's another reason why I recommend shifting rather than dodging, because you can focus a little bit more on the kick itself and turning that foot over. It's actually quite tricky to do. That was good, Mr. West. Nice. Again, you want to try and jump, get your height a bit. That was lovely, Mr. S. Lovely. Okay, come on. Now, Mr. West, in a moment, I'm going to get you just to continue the red belt ones because they're the ones that you need to work on for grading. Mr. S, I'm going to give you a slightly different exercise. For black belt, one of the ways once sparring is commonly done is the examiner will stand up the front and say, attackers knife hand side strike, go. Attackers flat fingered thrust, go. Attackers turning kick, go. So when you do once sparring, generally the attack will either come directly towards you or it will come inwards towards you, right? Coming in one way or the other. What you kind of want to have lined up in your arsenal is a few favorite techniques that you show off really nicely against each of those types of attack, and some blocks that work well with those types of attack as well. So if an attack's coming with a knife hand side strike, you might think, okay, well, knife hand guarding block works pretty well to block the knife hand side strike. And then given your body position, what's a nice technique you can do to counterattack? So even then, if it's not prearranged, you start to get a kind of a sense whether someone's coming inward with an attack or coming straight through with an attack. When they're coming inward with an attack, they're either going to come closed side, like a knife hand side strike where they've got their back to you, or they'll come open side, like a reverse knife hand inward strike where they're opening their body up. So it kind of leaves three different ways they're going to attack: straight in, closed body from the side, or open body from the side. So what I want you to do is just to think about those three different types. Think about attacks that could fit for the three different types. So open side inward could be like a turning kick or a side turning kick. Direct front snap kick, twin fist vertical punch, four fist punch, flat fingered thrust. So, and then for each of those, I want you to think, okay, I'm going to imagine the attack is this. Here's my defense, here's my counterattack, and then do it. So split second to put it together, straight away do it. Mr. West, you can carry on with the red belt stuff. Have you got 1, 2, and 3 clear in your mind? Okay, cool. Way you go. Cool. Nice, Mr. S. What will really impress the examiners is just doing like really nice high flying reverse hooking kicks, flying reverse turning kicks, flying turning kicks, just those flying kicks from blue belt, red stripe, red belt, doing them at your skill level, at eye level, and really, really nice and high and nice and close. That will impress the examiners more than if you're doing a twin foot front kick and it comes out to the height of the chest. The flying reverse hooking kicks and stuff, you've got really nice kicks, show those really well, and it'll go, oh, that'll look amazing. Yeah, nice. Yeah, Mr. West.
I can't remember the defense for the first one. The other two are just shift off, aren't they?
Okay. Palm downward block. And yes.
And then side kick, piercing kick. So.
Then flying reverse hooking kick with the front leg.
Front leg. And then the other two are just shift off and then mid-air kick and
shift off and twisting kick. Yes. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Remember with that flying reverse hooking kick with the front leg, Mr. West, land with your supporting foot pointing away from you. That'll allow you to open your hips up and it'll give you a nice safe landing as well. Nice, Mr. S. Very nice.
So for some reason, I can only remember the attacks for the ones below, the defense for the ones below. So is it a side piercing kick with the second one?
The attack, you mean, or the attack?
Yes, the attack.
Flat fingertip thrust.
Oh.
And number 3 is the back piercing kick.
Yeah. I was thinking initially the upset fingertip thrust, but I know that's down below. That's one grade below.
Right.
So
it'd still work though.
Yeah.
It'd work.
Thank you, sir.
Cool, Mr. S. And when you're trying to put stuff together at short notice, for defense, if in doubt, you can dodge. You don't want to be dodging every time, so things like punches, knife hand side strikes, you'll very comfortably come up with blocks. But if they start throwing stuff like downward kick, just dodge. In fact, to downward kick, there's not a lot you can do easily apart from dodge. So yeah. The only thing is for a rising block, you've actually got to have a lot of trust in your partner. One, that they can kick high enough, because they've got to be able to lift their leg up above your head to bring it down for a rising block.
I remember the first time the instructor, I think it was Mr. Van Heerden, gave us downward kick for step sparring. I was like a green belt, and I was super excited to do some high blocks. I'd never done them before.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah, you find a lot of someone has to have a really good downward kick to lift it high enough for you to block it with a rising block.
Yeah, I'd rather just dodge probably.
Otherwise, it won't clear enough and it'll come down and hit you. Yeah, nice. And come on. Good work, guys. If you've got any questions, come up and ask. Otherwise, it's time for us to stretch off.
No question, sir.
Cool. We've gone through all the gut grading sparring. Of course, Mr. Saper, for your grading, they can ask you all of it, and they probably will. On the Saturday, they often go right through the syllabuses. So that's one of the reasons it's worthwhile stretching the lower back. And then you get your opportunity to show your stuff off. It also helps to have some stuff prepared. So have half a dozen that you really want to do. And that way, if they go to the stage where on the last day they're saying one step go, you can just say to your partner, do this attack, and then do your prearranged defenses. When you say to your partner, do this attack, tell them what the target is. Rather than saying high section or any of that, say, side piercing kick to my solar plexus, please. Because the middle section, for example, is quite big. And if you know exactly what the target is, you'll be okay. Assuming that your partner is accurate. And change. Both feet forwards, breathe in, and straight down. Lucky we had a small group tonight, because there'd probably be a lot of people that I couldn't do flying kicks in my hall here, in my upstairs lounge here. It would hurt too much thumping from downstairs. And I wouldn't really be comfortable doing it on our wooden floors. They're old. But having two people that both had suitable flying spaces is good. Heels in. Chin to the side, just lie down, stretch your legs up and open out. And closing up. On the feet. Left leg behind. Standing nice and tall. And change. Give it a shake. Everybody up. Thanks, guys. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow night. Good up. Go again. Take a while. Thanks for the inspiration for step sparring, Mr. West. I was so focused on grading earlier today that I came to this class and thought, oh, what are we going to do tonight? So thank you very much for the lesson plan.
All right, thank you, sir.
See you guys soon. See you tomorrow.
See you.
See you tomorrow, sir.